Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to Hades. This is the second time we can see Hades during ESA Winter, but this time this will be a bit different compared to Dash Only because I will try to do something like very difficult. So first of all, I need to finish the run first because I'm supposed to try during 1 hour and 15 minutes to clear 58 temperature. And this is a special category like Unseeded and Unmodded. So in order to do that, I need to show as a proof that I'm supposed to die first or to clear a run first. So that way, I know for sure nothing about the next seed I'm supposed to face.
That really hurt.
So it's not technically a new run. And that's why, in order for a run to be verified on the leaderboard, you have to die first.
So I think we can be like really short on what will happen, but as you can see from people who already played the game, this is the mirror of the night. But because of the pact of the punishment, I have already some handicaps, so already half of my mirror is available.
Exactly. That's the pact of punishments called routine inspection, which essentially just depowers you a little bit to get you a bit more down to earth. So which aspect are we going to be using today, Yaji?
This one. This is the aspect of Estia, one of the aspects of the rail. Mechanic is very simple. I'm supposed to reload manually to have a charged shot, and that allows me to do one shot at 150 damage. So this is like the main mechanic of the game. We probably will explain some along the way. Now it's time to start. So this is basically 58 temperature. So the pact is really filled with a lot of handicaps. So we probably will explain it along the way, but basically enemies will be tougher, hitting us harder, like double damage. Well, we'll explain along the way. So should we start now? Or?
Yeah, sure. Let's get it going. And timer will start when we gain control of Zagreus in the first room.
Okay, so let's go.
Wretches of the underworld, take heed.
No cutscene. Perfect. And go.
Go. Okay. So we have time to explain, I guess?
Well, before we explain that, let's go on and have a quick donation read.
Ringers.
Stouty donated $6.
Thank you for that donation. So, what's happening now is that we are resetting because one of the pact of punishments is called approval process. We get offered 3 boons from every god when we have a menu. Approval process removes one of those choices. In this 50 heat run, we want to begin with Tidal Dash, the dash from Poseidon. Unfortunately, approval process said no. So we're going to try again. Showing the death to ensure that this can be verified on the leaderboards at speedrun.com/Hades.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, my main strategy to clear the game is to rely on the dash, but if the dash doesn't happen, I need to reset from time to time. I hope this won't be too much.
Perfect. So with the hammer, you ideally want a combination of 2 hammers. It's Rocket Bomb and Cluster Bomb. And we already got a good start getting Rocket Bomb right off the bat.
I mean, I'm still hoping for the dash, which will be my main mechanic of the game, to be able to clear, but we'll see.
We shall see. But even without the dash, Rocket Bomb is still a very powerful tool, especially when you have slightly chunkier enemies, because then you can use your attack and then the rocket to finish them off if necessary. The solid room. In every room of Hades, you have a counter that needs to be filled, and tougher enemies tend to fill that counter up more quickly. So we want to... Hey, ooh, we had a reroll this time.
Yeah.
Let's go.
We can have a start.
So continuing on what I said before, so rooms like these, where we have these, I believe they're called Doomstones. I can never remember the difference between Doomstones and Snakestones. are pretty good because they have high value, but they're very easy to take care of. And right there, we had our first armored enemy. Would you like to explain a bit about BP, perhaps, JGG?
Yeah, if you don't mind. While I'm facing some skulls. I mean, if you want to explain.
Oh, I thought you wanted to explain, but that's fine. I can explain that as well.
Yeah.
So that's part of the mirror as well, the Pact of Punishment, rather. And every armored enemy will have 2 additional boons. So, for instance, in this room, we had the armored numbskulls, and they had the boons that they gave every other numbskull basically a shield from time to time, which is very annoying when there's a lot of them. Okay, this seems to be a normal room, so nothing different here in terms of BP. Okay, good. Artemis. That's good for our build.
You've been waiting for this, haven't you?
So normally in any heat, you use your summon at the start of these mini-boss rooms. But this one, it's better to save the summons for later on when you do 50 heat, especially when it's bosses like this that are fairly simple to take care of. Ah,
I would like to focus on the attack. So, well,
so punished.
My senses are sharpened.
But I can understand why, because the attack is really good, and being able to empower it on Hestia, an aspect that mainly focuses on the attack, is of course useful to ensure that we keep pace. Because as you might have been able to see, in the bottom left corner we have a little hourglass with time running out. And that's our tight deadline from the Pact of Punishment. The lower the time gets, the more...
oh, free room.
Yeah, let's go.
This is good.
So that's perfect. So essentially, when we reach 0 on that timer, we'll start to take damage and we'll eventually get killed by it. So we want to avoid that by clearing as fast as possible. And free rooms such as this one, Sisyphus and Baldy, are perfect for that.
Mate,
And of course, the fountain,
bit of a break.
which is another free room. We call them free rooms because in free rooms, you do not have to do any kind of combat, which is, of course, faster than having to, you know, defeat enemies.
This kind of room could be like very difficult for Estia on the normal time, but because I have the tidal dash, I'm able to do as like a counter-attack in a way.
Yeah.
Because basically when I'm using Estia, Estia is an aspect that is like very good when you like doing some duels, like facing enemies one at a time. But when it comes to face multiple foes, it starts to be a bit complicated. But thanks to the tidal dash, I'm able to deal some good damage, and I'm able to compensate a bit this weakness of the aspect.
So normally these boons are a lot cheaper, but again, with the Pact of Punishment, one of the things you can do is crank up the price a bit.
Keep you waiting.
Karam doesn't want us to barter anymore, so his prices are very high. This is the first boss, so we got to face Megara, which is nice, because it's the vanilla boss of the game. It's the first Fury that you'll ever face. So you can see here how Jajiji is being careful to not be too close, because in high heat, you don't regain health from normal sources. So if we had taken any damage when we were in the fountain room, which normally heals you for about 30% of your health, then you would have seen that we wouldn't have healed anything. So far this has been a good fight in terms of pattern, nothing too difficult. Alright.
Okay.
There we go. And that's Tartarus taken care of.
Strictly business.
And while we are walking between biomes, we have time for one small donation. Read.
HS157 donated $25. Good luck for your runs, ya GG and Silver. Also, I lost the game.
Oh no.
Oh no.
So basically, because of the pact, I need to sacrifice one boon. My situation is not very good because I wanted to have an attack boon out of the Tartarus, but that's not the case, so I need to change some keepsake.
Yes, indeed. So the keepsake that we'll be using now is called the Shattered Shackle, which is the keepsake of our lovely friend Sisyphus, who we saw back in Tartarus. This makes it so that when our core boons attack, special, or cast, doesn't have any boon empowering them. As you can see on the screen now, there's nothing covering them like with the dash. Then they deal double damage. which is very useful, of course, for high heat, where you won't have that many boons. And now in Asphodel, which is flooded with flame even more because of the BP enemies we're getting, then it's very important to try to avoid standing in the lava as much as possible, which is, of course, quite difficult now.
Thank the gods.
But this was a good room in terms of enemies because they were all pretty big and, you know, we didn't have to face too many of them, which is perfect for Hestia.
Yeah, and as for that, basically most of the rooms are very bigger than Tartarus, so I have very large space to move.
Yeah.
So my goal is the same as as Tartarus. We would like to really want an attack boon before finishing the floor.
Because you want to swap off from the Shackle into Elysium, right?
Yeah.
And this is, of course, a bit harder considering the fact that we don't get that much money on 50 heat to buy stuff as we do on normal. Well, we get the same money, but everything's way more expensive. Ah, the Bargy Wargy. This is the Barge of Death, one of the 3 mid-bosses that you can get in Asphodel. JGG will start this fight by trying to remove some of the traps so he doesn't take damage from them. And then the first enemy he's going to summon. Because this enemy, instead of having small faces like you do in regular any heat categories, it just keeps spawning. So instead of one small protection crystal, there's one, sorry, many small, there's one massive. So this is actually not that bad a mini-boss compared to any heat, as you have it in one wave instead of several, because spawning in is slow. Alright, so here's Zeus. We don't want his attack. Oh, his call is good.
Call is good.
And there we have the other story room, Eurydice. What are you planning on doing here? Are you going to take the rarity or are you going to take the boon upgrade? Because I'm assuming...
I think I'll have multiple choice, but this time I don't have anything interesting on the attack, so I guess I will go for the Refreshing Nectar.
Yeah. So Refreshing Nectar gives you 3 chances to get basically increased rarity on the next boons you have. And this room is very nice because on a max file... Oh, hey, another fountain, what do you know? Story into fountain, 2 biomes in a row. That's very good, but very bad for our boon situation.
Yeah. I'm still hoping.
You're hoping for a... Oh?
You're such a sweetheart.
Oh, let's go! Aphrodite is the attack that you want on Hestia because it's a very big attack and it's incredibly useful here.
Good day, Lernie. And now, prepare to...
So this is the Lernie fight. As you may see, it's a bit different from the regular Lernie fight when you first load up the game. And that's because of another pact of punishment that we use, which is called Extreme Meshes. This pact is actually used in every run of the game. And the reason why is because this arena is way smaller than the main one, so you can actually get some good AoE in on the ads that Lernie spawns. Okay, head RNG is a bit unfortunate, mainly because these pink heads take a long time to go into the middle, so it's not as easy to AoE them.
Oh, I mean, I'm all about survival right now, so I mean, I think we're good.
Don't speak too soon, my friend. But it's looking good.
Oh, oh no.
Oh no. So, 50 heat is very hard. And you will die. A lot.
Maybe I talk too soon. Well,
I'm not going to say jinx, but...
Why?
maybe a little bit.
Maybe. Well, at least let's say that we are lucky and unlucky at the same time, but at least we died like very early in a way, so
addition to the
we
old
have
collection,
a bit of time to retry.
Exactly.
it is sealed.
Plus, the build, while the build was good in terms of boons, we were lacking quite a bit of health. And that is quite important later on. Because you don't want to get one shot. Alright, getting the dash again, that's perfect.
How careless of me.
And now we'll just hope for a few more boons in Tartarus. Okay, nice and quick room. What do we got? We're taking the pomp here to upgrade our dash, because the more damage it does, the faster Tartarus will be. So this is actually a pretty good room with like these armored enemies, because they have a benefit package ability which makes them, you know, gives them a link that damages us when there's enemies between us and them. But they were basically the only ones, so it didn't matter.
Well, I didn't expect to die, but at least you can see like different variation that we can face along
Yeah.
the way.
Yep. So while we're continuing to clear out Tartarus, why don't we take a quick donation?
7Winner7 donated $7.69. Dear Yaj, I was gonna wish you good luck, but then I remembered that you do not need it because you're good at that game.
Oh.
And then I also remembered you do not deserve it because you still have hairs and you only won in Fort Boyard by cheating and having the better PC.
Ooh.
I hate you with all my love, my dear rival.
Some wounds never heal, I guess.
Okay, so in this run we got Piercing Fire as the hammer instead, which is quite useful in rooms like this. If you can line the enemies up, you can hit multiple enemies with one shot. It's very hard when you meet enemies like these bombers that just like to jump around all over the place. Okay. That's good. So we want to take a core boon from Athena because that opens up some of her secondary boons, among which are boons that give us an extra death defiance.
I don't have enough money for the shop, but this is still a free room, so
Yeah. Oh, look, another free room. You're getting lucky on those today, aren't you?
yeah.
And we, of course, gift our friend Baldy, who gives us the 4 dots, as is tradition. If this is another fountain, I'm calling hacks. Okay, good. So here we have the chonky ringers. Ringers are fairly easy to deal with, but if they do hit you, you get hit stunned for a few seconds. So it's important to dodge their attacks to avoid that. And as we continue clearing out these rooms, let's see what we get from it. This was a blue door, right? Yeah, so that's meta rewards. So you have 240 left on the timer. Do you want to risk the trial, or do you rather just take... Okay, so we're risking the trial.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this gives us a good opportunity to explain exactly what trials are. So as you could see, on that room door, there were 2 god icons. That means that this room offers 2 boons.
What do you think about it?
Yikes.
Well,
I suppose it's good to sell, but anyway, so they offer 2 god boons, but you can only pick one at the start, and that makes the other god very mad. So they try to kill you by summoning lots of powerful enemies and aiding them. However, Athena is fairly easy to deal with in these rooms because she doesn't do anything that actively harms you, compared to Poseidon, who has a wave that chases you. Athena just, you know, spawns a circle on the ground every now and then, which makes the enemies invulnerable for a little bit of time, which we can easily deal with here. And now we're into the end shop again. We have enough money for health, but nothing more, which is probably good now to use, as we are slightly low on health going into the Fury, and that's Tisiphone. So Tisiphone is the 3rd of the Fury sister that you'll encounter in the game. She likes to say the word murder and murderer, and sometimes even Zagreus, but not always. Also, So her attacks are fairly nicely telegraphed, except this one is hard to dodge when you only have a dash to remove the projectiles. Yeah, so as you can see, that's pretty easily telegraphed, so you can dodge that one. And there we go. So we're out of Tartarus again. So Yajiji, tell me,
Yes.
which boon are you going to be selling now?
I mean, probably this one if I can, the cast,
Okay.
because that. I mean, I have 2 boons of Athena, so if it's possible, I will steal the Athena as a god along the way.
All right.
And I think this will be a bit of a gamble. Like, I think attack could be good, but only if I can find a specific boon along the way.
Oh, you're trying to go for the rare crop angle.
Razor Shawls, if
Oh yeah,
possible.
that too. Yeah.
That way, I can take advantage of having Poseidon on the attack.
Yeah. So the keepsake that Yajiji just equipped is the Skull Earring, which is the keepsake that you get from gifting Nectar to Megara. And what this does is every time you're below, I believe it's 35% health, then it becomes active and lets you deal more damage. So while this is very risky in a normal speedrun, in high heat, since you can't heal, it tends to be very useful because it's active literally all of the time. As you can see by the little thing down there. Okay, +1 dash, that's good for safety, because dashes give iframes, as I kind of forgot to explain until the very end of my dash only run this Sunday, but still. So what are you going to be doing here?
Probably the palm this time. Because I have enough boon and they should be able to upgrade everything.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea. The other angle could have, of course, been to try for the Ambrosia, to try to go for +2 dashes, but maybe you think that's a bit overkill?
Yeah, maybe, and because it's only 2 boons, I mean, this is like very few probability to win it, in a way.
Yeah, fair enough. This one just, you know, it was more consistent of the two. So let's see here. These bombers are the speedy bombers. They have the benefit package icon, which is literally just a boot, and they run very fast and also jump very often. Okay, nice. Still get off in mid-shop after Yuri. Not always that happens in Asphodel. So, of course, we don't have that much money, but that's fine.
So 2 rooms left, and we'll see.
We'll see. So this is another mini-boss in Asphodel. It's the Witch's Circle, where you are fighting 4 witches. Normally, they only spawn the first, well, not the first, the second set of balls that come at you. But in middle management, which we are using, they're also spawning... Oh, it's up there. I couldn't even see it. There you go. They also spawn those other balls that you can't really dodge because they have a circle around them. Okay, Aphrodite's gold, not bad.
HP is fine. I mean, this looks like the seed has like a better shape than the previous one. For the moment.
For the moment, yeah.
But I don't want to jinx once again, so...
There we go, we've activated our Skull Earring by tactically taking 1 point of damage. So in this room, like, when we come down to the end of the biomes, we want to try to just avoid taking damage as much as possible to be in as good a shape as possible before the end boss. However, the kind of good thing about high heat is that instead of the standard death defiances, where we have 3 finite defiances, we have, 3 finite essentially like get out of jail free cards. So when we die, we heal back to health, about 50%. But here we use Stubborn Defiance, which means that in every room we are allowed to die once. Life Affirmation is good. We need more health, we'll get more health. So let's see which head we get this time from Lernie, because Lernie can have different colors. So this one is the blue one, also known as the Trans Rights Lernie.
That means I need to keep my distance.
Yes, because the different Lernie heads favor different attacks. The blue Lernie head likes to use the head smash a lot. So you can see the colors on these heads that it spawns are also different. So the orange heads, they spawn pools of lava. The green heads, they spawn small ads. And of course, when Lernie does the ground pound, then there are also other circles spawning of rocks falling down that you need to avoid. So the Lernie fight, especially on high heat, is incredibly hectic and difficult to finish. Okay, so we're in the final phase now. Ah, I see. Nice use of the Aphrodite core there. The charm essentially interrupted it. And now we're out of Asphodel. 2 biomes left to go. So what Yajiji did there was essentially use his call when Lernie was about to do a big set of head slams. And that interrupted Lernie and made it so that you didn't have to deal with all that. So what are you going to be selling here?
I think I really want... I still can have some defensive boons later from Hermes, so I think I can guard this one.
Okay, so we're selling the extra dash from Hermes. And buying some extra movement speed, because why not?
Next region.
So we're keeping the skull earring into Elysium, because we want to try to have as much time as possible for essentially the last biome, because that biome, especially on Unmodded, 50 heat can be incredibly brutal.
But considering the amount of time I had from at the end of Asphodel, I think I'm good
Yes.
when it comes, considering the timer.
Yeah, the timer is looking good. Now we just need to get the build and the health together. And we'll have to see what this second hammer that we get offered is. Which hammer would you prefer, Yajiji?
Probably Ricochet.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. Ricochet is very useful, especially in Elysium with its final boss fight. And hey, we got it. Woo!
We should be fine, but well.
Yeah, well, this room is going to be quite dangerous because these are bruisers and sluggers. Bruisers mean they have more health, and sluggers mean they deal more damage. So one of those jumps is probably going to take close to all our health, so we want to avoid that as much as possible. Very nice dodge there, by the way. So in Elysium, the Exalted, which are these enemies, they spawn their soul essentially when they die, and you have to make sure that you kill that as well. So the optimal type of enemy in Elysium is actually to try to minimize the amount of blue men that we can see. But at least we're getting the spearmen here that are worth a fairly high bit. And this is an intentional death in order to just proc our Stubborn Defiance, because that's the only way you can heal in high heat.
Something I need.
See, there's a shop. I assume we're basically going to be buying any boon just to get some boons.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Dionysus, and our mid-boss is Aphrodite. We are getting the butterfly ball. Okay, good.
At least it's safe.
Don't say that again.
No, I mean,
But yeah, it is definitely the safer of the two mid-bosses. The other boss is very much more difficult and takes way longer. So this is good both for our timer and for the run in general.
I need to take care of the HP.
Yes, exactly. But if we're not getting offered health, not much we can do about that. So here's our second Poseidon that we wanted. And hopefully we can find Racer Shells. These splitters are very dangerous, but they're also worth a lot in terms of the room value. So there shouldn't be that many waves in this room. Probably 3 in total because of that little spear boy running around.
Not had enough yet.
And worth mentioning is that with the benefits package, there are certain benefits that can happen only in certain biomes. So if you remember the lava pools back in Asphodel, that is unique for that biome. Whereas in Elysium, this shieldy boy, as we call them, has the popper suffix. That means that when he dies, he has 4 different souls, but only one of them is the real soul, and that's the only one you have to kill. Whereas the other ones, they explode after a certain amount of time, so we want to avoid that. Alright, let's see what we get here. Well, we got a duobone. Sweet nectar. So any poms that we get now will now give us 2 levels instead of 1. It's unfortunate to have to skip Hermes for the health, but we really need it right now, as we're rather low. I kind of like this room. Like I dislike it for the fact that it's one of those rooms in Elysium where you cannot be offered a mid-shop, despite it having 2 exits. So fun fact, in Hades you can only be offered a shop in the mid-biome if the room has 2 exits, unless it's a certain type of room that doesn't offer it. This is one of those rooms. But what's nice about this room is that it has these arrow traps to the edges, and sometimes enemies just jump around and are hard to track down, and sometimes they kill themselves on the arrows, which is very convenient. This was quite an annoying room with so many enemies. There we go. Intentional death, so we can get extra health. Because in Hades, when you get plus max health, that also refills your health bar. So you can see that Yajiji is now at 70 instead of the 37 he was at before. And normally these flame wheels are quite bad, but if you can, keep your distance on Hestia, especially with Ricochet, it's fairly safe to take care of. Of course, they're not worth a lot, so it's going to take a while to clear this room. But I'm actually curious, Yajiji, because that's my opinion. What do you think about flame wheels? Do you like them, or do you really find them annoying?
I think it's fine, depending on the weapon, but Hestia is completely okay with that most of the time. I still need to be careful.
Yes, of course, because one of those explosions, they will deal a lot of damage. I think that was probably the last flame wheel that we got right there. Oh, never mind, I lied. Okay, I lied very hard. But now I think we're good. Probably, maybe. And now we only have to deal with these really annoying archers, because they are seekers, which means that their attacks hone in on us, and we want to try to not get hit, because as you saw, 1 arrow deals 40 damage, which is a lot. So we're taking a key here because the meta rewards normally give you nothing, but since we're playing on a max save file, because that's what we do in standard speedruns of Hades, they give us some extra resource. And the keys, they give us an extra reroll. Since you start 50 heat without any rerolls because of routine inspection, you want to get as many as you can. Because it costs 1 reroll to reroll once, and 2 to reroll twice. So with 3 rerolls that we're going to have after this room, we are able to reroll twice on any boon, and that's going to be very important for key boons later on. I feel like we should be reaching the end of the biome and the boss. This room is quite annoying with all these small flame wheels. But as Yajiji is clearing this room, let's go ahead and take some time for a quick donation.
Shigan _ donated $6.66. Can I ask you a question? What is your favorite supermarket brand? Good luck on the run, my dear friend. Less than 3 phosphorus monosulfide. Made you look.
What? Look, I know the first part, but what? Yes. Yajiji, what is your favorite supermarket?
Sorry, I'm a bit buzzy right now.
Okay, so what do we do here? Look for health in the end shop?
I think health would be an issue, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Okay, so now we're heading into the third biome boss, essentially, and that's the Heroes of Elysium, Theseus and Asterius. However, they're a bit different than you normally see them in speedruns. And they are both wearing golden armor, one of them is in a chariot, and one of them likes to spin to win. his favorite League of Legends character is Garen. And this is because, of course, we have extreme measures on, which changes this boss fight. So it's very important for us to just try to avoid these bombs that Theseus keeps throwing around and not be in the whirlwind that the bull keeps doing. This is a very difficult fight, and like one misstep and you get hit once, and essentially you lose your Death Defiance. Alright. There we go. And what JGG is doing is, since they kind of don't want to stick together, unlike in the regular boss fight, is focusing one down.
This is critical.
Yeah. Okay, so we face the bull, which means that his abilities will be slightly different now. So you saw when he slammed into the wall, we had 3 blasts of energy come out that can harm us. Normally that doesn't happen on the first phase, but in the second phase that happens.
I think I will be done because of the timer.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunately cutting it a bit close. Those last rooms in Elysium unfortunately cost us a lot of time because of the amount of flame wheels we had. So you can see how the clock goes, oh no, time's about to run out. And there we go. And now time is up and we start taking damage again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But good run. Just had some unfortunate luck with the attack boon. But otherwise good. That's the farthest we've gotten today so far. So let's see how the next run goes. So basically this is essentially a showcase of high heat, because unlike in any heat where you basically are guaranteed to finish most of the runs, in 50 heat you are not, because it's very difficult. So getting to the end of Elysium is very impressive.
You mock boy are a symbol of the power of this realm. To you they're merely trinkets, but to mortals, gemstones hold more value than their very lives.
Indeed. Someone give Diamond, please. Alright, let's see how this goes.
Gemstones then.
Dash, please. Yes. Good start.
At least we won't suffer because of the dash.
Indeed. Now we'll just suffer because of other things. But it's nice to get armored enemies earlier, because armored enemies in Hades are worth more. So if you have rooms with armored enemies, they tend to have less enemies, and therefore go by quicker. This room is very annoying because it is massive, and sometimes your dash gets eaten when you try to cross the chasms, so it sometimes takes a bit longer than you want it to. But we've got some pretty good enemies here, so it's not that long. And these enemies are having the BP boon, which is unique to Tartarus, which is that they create copies of themselves that deal exactly as much damage as the regular one, but they have 1 health and 1 armor. And when you kill the main one, the clones disappear. Think of it as kind of a Hades homage to Naruto, if you will. Right, so now we are taking Ares instead of the health because we need to get some more boons. Because one of the Pact of Punishment settings that we're using is called Underworld Customs, and that's the reason why Yajiji has been selling 1 boon at the end of every biome, because if he doesn't, Customs won't let us through. Luckily, I don't think you had that issue when you came to ESA, did you?
Hello, Lord Ares.
Yeah.
Interesting. Which one would you get here? I'm assuming the first one.
Yeah.
Because
I would like to sacrifice it later, but...
It's a good sell boon, essentially. Well, this is a very rough room, because this has the armored numbskulls that clone themselves, and they're also fast as heck. Very well handled, though. A 1 waiver is always nice to see. There's a shop, and we're just gonna breeze through it, because we don't have enough money to buy anything. Okay, Demeter.
that could be interesting.
Yeah. So this is another of the mid-bosses that you can get in Tartarus. It's a Doomstone, and with middle management it has a different arena. But other than that, nothing has changed. So it's still fairly easy to take care of here. Let's see. Yeah, they knew we wanted the attack, of course. Remember to get the gold pots, because otherwise you will be Varine broke in the mid shops, as our friends in the Hades community say, and they definitely don't say anything else when you have no money in the mid shop, trust me. So here's another one of the big rooms in Tartarus. Fairly easy enemies so far. But of course, as you can see in Hades, the difficulty of the enemies and their attack kind of ramps up as you go through the biomes. So the enemies that you have in Tartarus have the simplest attacks and the easiest attacks to dodge. Of course, when there's a massive amount of them on screen, it definitely isn't easy. So in this room, you're actually waiting with aggroing the others because you don't want to have what I call Toho mode in Hades, which is a lot of lasers. But we didn't need to worry about that too much. Yo, crystal beam value.
Yeah.
Are we going with the trial here? How are we looking on time? 2:05. What do you think? We shall try the trial again. Okay, Typhus Fury is good because we get a lot of body slams and wall slams when we're using Tidal Dash. And honestly, like, I prefer to not use Demeter when it comes to like most trials, but when you're using Hestia and you have such range, it's fine. But if you were to use, say, a melee weapon, then this would be an issue, because what Demeter does is she spawns these circles that just like swirl around the enemies. And if you need to be up close and personal to the enemies, you're going to take a lot of damage. But since we're on Hestia, we could just safely maintain our distance and pick them off one by one. Okay, that should be the last one. There we go. And I mean, still an attack. Let's go. Now we're getting all the big rooms. I think this is like the last big room we have left in Tartarus. And the reason why we don't really like the big rooms is the bigger the room, the higher the value needed to fill it, essentially. So these rooms that we've had, they need us to kill a lot of enemies, as you can probably see. At least this one seemed to be a one-waver, which makes it fast-ish. So that wasn't too bad. Now we are heading into the Furious fight again. We have 50 seconds to spare on the deadline, so it's going to be tight, but definitely doable.
Normally, yes.
Depends, of course. Okay, so we're getting Electro, the third Fury. We've now seen all of the 3 Fury sisters so far in this run. We're opening up with our Crystal Beam that doesn't deal a lot of damage, but, you know, gives us moral support. We appreciate that very much. Oh yeah, and another thing about the Demeter attack, when you hit the enemy, they gain 1 stack of Chilled, which reduces their attack speed as well as movement speed, if I recall correctly. Or maybe just attack speed, actually. Oh, yeah, sorry, it's a different boon from Demeter that reduces movement speed. There we go.
Timer will be short, but I think I can gain some time once I'm in Asphodel, so that should be fine.
Yeah. We almost had the 13:37 timer, which would have been very elite. Do you want to roll this to get rid of the thing, or should we just get rid of the special?
I think I will purge this one for the moment, but I really would like to take off the Crystal Beam sooner or later.
Yeah. And the reason why we want to purge the Crystal Beam is because that cast cannot be lodged into enemies. One of our mirror settings that is actually still, you know, available, even though we've gotten our mirror smashed to half, is that we have Boiling Blood, which means that if we can lodge one of our casts into an enemy, we deal extra attack and special damage to them. And with Hestia, you deal a lot of attack damage. boneless, also known as bloodless in-game, but someone made a mental typo in the Hades community, and now we know them as boneless, even though they're basically all bone. Not the worst room to deal with, but a lot of enemies, so it's not the quickest room either. Oh, how's our health situation looking? Could definitely use a bit more. Greater haste is something. It's not much. Oh, we haven't gotten a hammer yet, so this is going to be the first hammer in Asphodel, which is normally a bit unlucky, but since it's 50 heats, you know, it's acceptable. But that could also explain why the timer out of Tartarus was a bit unfortunate.
I think like this was mainly because of the dual room. But
Yeah,
well,
well, we kind of wanted that. It's a gamble that we take to lose time now to gain time later, essentially.
yeah.
Okay, so targeting can be useful, I guess. Because the fun thing about targeting is that the debuff it gives is global. So what that means is that when you have your special and something is in your special AoE, they get slowed and they take more damage from everything. Which is really nice if you have a big chunky meg hit of 2,500 damage coming up. Alright, so our fourth god here is going to be Zeus. And here's the Baji Baji again. Alright, the standard take out the two traps and then wait until the spawn. Nice knockback into that trap there, because we want every extra bit of damage that we can get, and that extra 500 really helps finishing off that big protective crystal. That was a very nice March of Death. Well done.
Thanks.
Okay, get the Zeus Call again. In regular runs, Zeus Call is one of the few calls that you actually take, because it deals a lot of damage and it can charge up fairly quickly. Ah, here's our first Thanatos. So, Thanatos is one of your, well, spoilers, one of your partners, and he sometimes comes to help you when he senses his boyfriend needs help. And what he does is essentially start a big combat where you fight against him, you know, friendly sport involving murder, as we all know. And if you get more kills than Thanatos, he gives you a little present at the end. And that present is more health, which we very much want. And it's looking really good. And normally in speedruns, we tend to get more kills than Thanatos, because we're fast, and Than kind of isn't.
And during Thanatos fight, timer doesn't...
It's going on now because we finished the fight. But yes, during the actual fight, the timer is paused, which is also, of course, great for high heat when you have such a tight deadline to consider. And here we get Eurydice in our final room. So Chamber 22 is the final chamber of Asphodel. So here we're going to, I'm assuming, get the Poms,
Yeah, bombs.
because we have many useful things. And of course it upgrades the cast. But I guess we only had 4, right?
Well,
Maybe.
at least one on the attack boon was fine.
Yeah. And we take this Palm Slide for a random upgrade and it hits the dash. That's perfect. And now we're going to say hello to our friend Lernie once again. And now we get the Pink Head. The Pink Head likes making waves of pink stuff, as you can see here. It's quite fond of it. And I'd say, like, in terms of difficulty, the blue head is probably like the most difficult to deal with. But the pink head, you know, it can be rough when it decides to do this attack, the 360 no-scope pink wave. Of course, we can 360 no-scope our own crystal beams, but they don't do nearly as much damage as what Lernie does. But they help us take off the final hits if we need to finish off one of Lernie's heads. So they're useful in that sense. Every little bit helps when you're doing high heat Hades. Also, something that just happened there that might not be as obvious to someone who hasn't played Hades a lot is that when you use your call, you get invincibility frames. Well done. And our time is looking okay-ish. 2:27 is pretty good considering we were close to timing out in Tartarus. So that's perfect. Thanatos and the skip definitely helped. And I've completely forgotten what I was talking about before. Yes, we can sell the crystal beam. Perfect.
Worth it. Closer.
Let's hope for a better Elysium this time.
Yes, indeed. Let's hope for at least one skip, shall we? Like either a fountain or, well, preferably a patty room. So I can actually say hello to my boy Patroclus.
Nice.
Okay, let's see what second hammer we get.
Right swords.
Once we dispatch of these blue men, of course. And the dreaded butterfly balls that do nothing, but they send out butterflies, and if we touch those butterflies, they are deadly. So we try to not do that. Okay, this seemed like a fairly standard room, a bit long because of the blue men, but what can you do?
I should press on.
Do you dare? Okay,
That'll do.
we're taking Hazard Bomb. This hammer empowers our special a lot, but if we stand in our special, we also take a lot of damage. But it's fine because we're on Hestia, where we have, you know, quite a lot of range. Unless, you know, it bounces on the walls, like that one did. Shoutouts to Halion. Okay, still seek archers, which is very unfortunate, but this statue keeps bouncing your bomb back. It's being very rude. There we go, nice. And more health. Do we take the palm or Hermes? Probably Hermes,
No,
right?
I think that we have enough bombs.
Yeah, yeah. Especially with the Yuri palms. So, another thing that you might notice is that Jajiji sometimes one-shots these witches and sometimes doesn't. And that's because one other part of our mirror that's actually active is our shadowy presence, which makes us deal more damage when we backstab enemies. So these witches, they do like turning, so we often get the nice backstab damage on them. Nice wall slam, that Typhoons might really help.
In the name of Hades.
Oh, not the extra 10% global damage. Oh no. That would have sucked if you had hyper sprint, really. All right, let's see which mid boss we meet this time. Ah, it's another butterfly ball. Lovely. So the butterfly ball, when you have middle management on, it kind of teleports, but not, you know, this is not the biggest arena, so the teleports don't really matter. Ooh, nice. Balorage is very, very nice on Hestia when you have one attack that deals massive amount of damage. And of course, we get into a room where it's kind of not useful. Because, why not? I wonder if there's going to be a flame wheel only room. What? I didn't see that one either. Sometimes they can be very sneaky. Okay, it's not flame wheel only. Yeah, good idea. This is a rough room because these Shieldy boys, since we don't have piercing fire, they actually block our attacks if we shoot in front of them or when they're not actually attacking. Of course, this is where Hazard Bomb comes in handy, because if we can just hit them behind them, we almost take their entire health away. Alright. Nothing useful there, unfortunately. Okay, this is a rough room. Lots of teleporty bowmen that also want to deal extra damage to us. So we need to be very careful, and that's why we're hiding behind this pillar here. Because they can't shoot through these flowers, clearly. Flowers are solid material, didn't you know? Fools! Okay, that's the first wave taken care of. Yo, these backstabs, they're chonking. I think he stood in a trap. There we go, yep. So that's what I was talking about earlier, when the traps can actually help you out. Not as much of a thing in earlier biomes, but in Elysium, where these auto-spawn these arrows, it can be very useful.
Okay.
Ah, I see. That was a swordsman's wave coming for you. So another thing to keep, you know, in mind when it comes to rooms like this in Elysium is to make sure that you kill off the soul. Because if the soul gets to a weapon like this one here, it can respawn. So when we see one doing that, we try to go for it, but sometimes in high heat, being safe is more important. So we let that one soul go through to not take additional hits. We're not getting lucky on the free route. Oh, never mind. This is the end shop, because the fountain room in Elysium cannot offer you a mid shop. So here we go. Time to see if we can best the heroes this time.
That should be fine, but well, unfortunately we didn't meet Patchwork, so...
Yeah, exactly. Patroclus gives you a buff, which makes it so your Death Defiance restores more health. Or well, Stubborn Defiance, to be correct. And we really want that, especially when we're in high heat and every hit deals double the damage to us. So one tactic you can employ when you're fighting the heroes is to try to stay close to the walls, because when Asterius does his bull rush, he stops if he hits an obstacle, which either can be these pillars in the middle or the wall. So as you see here, you just dodge next to the wall, and then you don't have to worry too much about the rest of it. Okay. And here's the triple jump. Another ability that he gains in the second phase.
Oh, the bounces.
All right, we've almost charged up a greater core. Well, now we have, which will last for essentially a much longer time than a regular core. Ooh, take care. Okay, so that's these Asterius down. Now we just need to take Theseus down without dying, which can be very difficult. So normally Theseus faces at half health, but in Extreme Ashes 3, it's at 1/4 instead. And he starts by, you know, shouting to the Olympian, saying, "Hey, yo, my ride gone, please help." And then he does the normal stuff. Well, of course, he does the AO stuff on normal as well. There you go. Well done.
Okay.
So now we're going to enter what we like to call the big RNG gamble, which is also known as Styx. In Styx, you have 5 chambers. You need to find a delicious snack for Cerberus to eat. What are we going to sell here? I'm thinking like...
Probably would like to keep this one for the Styx.
Yeah,
So
probably quick favor,
That's cold.
because it won't be as useful in normal Styx rooms. And now we're going to be swapping off from the skull earring into the Acorn of Eurydice, which lets us take 5 hits without actually... 5 hits without actually taking damage. And that's going to be active only during boss fights. But this final boss fight is very hard, so that's why we want it. And let's see, what do we have in the shop? We do have some health. Perfect. Okay, which do we do? We always start with a boss chamber, because the end chambers of the boss tunnels are going to be faster than the regular ones. So here in Styx we have our wonderful friends, the rats. If we have a room with only small rats, it tends to take a lot of time. But we're having some good rat RNG here. Nice. Got both the traps to kill that big rat. And we can get poisoned in these chambers, of course, but it's not too bad because we have Stubborn Defiance. Nice. Nice one waver, and this should be the boss room, unless I can't count. I can count. Let's go. So, what middle management does with the boss rooms in Styx is that it gives us 2 mini-bosses in one room instead of 1. So in this case, we have the Big Satyr and the Big Bother. But the Big Bother tends to die very quickly, so not that big of an issue. Okay, let's see what we get from Demeter. Yeah, special's good, special's good.
Down the chute.
And what will our next tunnel be? Are we going to take the other mini-boss, or are we going to take the health for safety? Our time's at 450. What do you think?
I don't know. Are we praying for this? The next one is a good one?
Probably. So we're praying for the 2-sack RNG. What we want to see is the Satyr sack that we give to Cerberus at the end of this tunnel. If we don't see the Satyr sack, we're going to be fighting a normal room, which will take a lot of time. And considering that our time is slightly on the short side, we'd like to avoid that. We'd also like to avoid these small rat rooms, but you know, as Tonys would say back in Finland, it's rats o'clock. That was not a Finnish accent, I just don't know what I was saying. There we go. We pop our SD to get 80 health for the final fight. And... okay, one more normal room. Ah. So this is unmodded in all its glory. Sometimes you get sacked. So with our timer, we should be able to do at least one more room before it starts getting a bit sus, correct?
I think so.
But as you can see, comparing this room to the other boss room, it definitely takes a lot more time. Because, well, there are waves. If there are waves, things take more time because things have to spawn in. And spawning in is slow. Okay, let's continue on and see what we can find. Do we take the money to potentially buy another POM? Or do we take something else?
I don't know, but I need to be real fast.
Yes. We need to zoom. That means getting no small rats. Ah, so this was a multi-wave chamber, of course. And here we're going to check the well. We're going to roll it, I assume. Oh, or just take that and hope for the best. The braid is not what we were looking for there. We were looking for some other items, but anything that helps is useful at this point. And here we want to lose our Stubborn Defiance, of course, because we only had 1 health left, and we don't want to enter the final boss fight with 1 health. Okay. Yes, okay, that's a 3-sack. Our timer is a bit rough, but it's doable. So let's see what happens here. So now we give now we give the Satyr sack to our friend Cerberus, and we exit Styx, and we go into Greece. And now comes the big test, the final boss of the run. Let's see if we can finish this run. And of course, the final boss is your old man, Hades himself. Let's give it up for him. So in this fight, we just want to stay as far away from Dad as possible, essentially. Because then we can kind of know what attacks he'll use and dodge them. Of course, the Demeter attack is a double-edged sword, while slower attacks, of course, is a good thing. Sometimes our muscle memory are of the attacks when they're not slow. Oh, these summons are very annoying because they're going to... Oh, nice. So Dad managed to just teleport away, which removes the shields that the summons put upon him. And of course, here we want to try to destroy the summons as quickly as possible just to not have to deal with them and be able to just focus on Dad. Okay, so now it's the last set of summons, so it should be the same, yeah. So 2 Doomstones that shield him and 1 Archer. Archers are the worst kind of summon for Dad because they have multiple attacks. And each attack would remove one of our Acorn stacks, so we want to avoid that. Okay. Great, so that's the first phase over and done with. Now we have 1 phase left. This phase is the most hazardous one, because these pots, when we, or well, rather, if we stand in them, we take 150 damage, and we do not want to do that. So when it comes to his beam attack, we want to be behind these pillars so we can dodge that. Okay. Okay. So he has, it's this final phase. We have 30 seconds. And we cannot take a single hit other than like maybe one from the first dashes. Okay. Try to lob some specials if you can while you're standing there. So here's the tight deadline. So now we just want to essentially outpace the damage of the tight deadline. So it becomes very hectic. And time! Very well done. So as you can see, 50 heat is incredibly hectic. Are you doing all right, man?
Yeah.
Okay. So we managed to make it under the timer. Very impressive.
That was horrible RNG. But at least we made it, so I'm happy with that.
Indeed. There was a possibility that we wouldn't have cleared tonight, but we had some save states, you know, just in case we wanted to showcase the final fight. But we still got it in a regular run, so that's great. Unfortunately, you forgot to turn the timer on, so this is not leaderboard legal.
We'll live with that, so.
Yeah. Okay.
I did it.
So, I think I'm done for now.
Yeah, do you have any final shout-outs, Yajiji?
Yeah, I got a wonderful list. So it's all about mainly Hades shout out because, well, the game is now like 2 years old, maybe 3 considering the early access.
Yeah.
Maybe more than 3 considering the early access.
I don't know, I bought it on release, so...
Well,
For me, it's two.
well, thank you everyone. So first of all, thank you Oki for the commentaries. Thank you ESA for having this run because, well, as you can see, this is very risky choice to put on any schedule. And about Hades, so first of all, shoutouts to the French crew, Nitrostarch, Asteros, Nephio, and Scratch. People that are still, well, except Asteros, but people that are still going on the game. All French crew, so Titigor, BSK, Aladar, Lily, who used to be really good on the Ares Rail back in time. And most of the 58 mates I made along the way, so you, okay, of course. And Seagull, Bright 01, Tayesk, Legend Domain, Magnin, and last but not least, Okamo. So, thank you everyone, and have a good
And
ESM
enjoy,
marathon.
yes, enjoy the rest of the marathon.